introducing Jess, who is going to be speaking shortly and who recently joined the Diversity Project in August to lead our next generation talent work, which includes this exciting apprenticeship scheme idea. And I'd also like to welcome Rob and John from Fitch Learning, who are going to be sort of taking the stage shortly. I just wanted to kick off, if I may, with just a little recap on sort of where we're at and the purpose of today's session. Some of you have been with us traveling along on this journey for a very long time, and we're grateful for your ongoing interest and support. But a couple of years ago now, Paris will remember this, we had a early careers discussion amongst member firms around, was anything missing from the lineup? We know there's a lot of great programs out there that some of our member firms already utilize, like 10,000 Black interns, like Investment 2020. But we heard very loud and clearly that there was a gap, and many member firms looking for a program, an apprenticeship program, which utilizes the apprenticeship levy and also provides a specific pathway into front office roles. So potential leaders of our industry are not necessarily, well, instead of graduate schemes, rather, and for people who could easily go to university, but perhaps might, for whether it's for economic reasons or just because they want to get started in their career, think they'd rather get going in an apprenticeship. We have worked together with both members and now more recently with colleagues at Fitch, and obviously led by Jess, and Adriana's put in a huge amount of effort on this before Jess joined us in particular, but also bringing Jess up to speed with everything, so that we would have something that would be additional to a firm-only apprenticeship program. So it would be a cohort of apprentices. So as well as they getting the exposure and the training within the individual firms, they would also have community events. They would train together on certain things, and they would gain exposure to experts in the industry across multiple firms. We've got some experience of doing that with the Pathway program, and we've seen the power of community where a group might otherwise be in a minority. That's for those firms you're not familiar with it, targeted at developing female fund managers. A minority breed in most individual firms, but you put 100 women together in a room all on the same program and suddenly they have a network, and it's incredibly empowering. Today's session, we're getting to the exciting phase. We've done a lot of consultation, a lot of back and forward to make sure we get this right. And today's session will provide a real early comprehensive overview of the program as we are envisaging it, as well as an opportunity to hear directly from Fitch Learning, who I'm sure all of you are aware are experts in delivering financial services education, and who we're planning on partnering with for this exciting initiative. The goal will be really to set out everything that we can and hear from you any remaining questions, so we can get going on this program. And now I'd like to pass over to Jess, and I'm going to put myself on mute just so that you don't have the drilling, and I'll go back to my desk.
Thank you so much, Helena. And yes, thank you for joining us and spending your afternoon with us. Very excited to speak to you today on all things apprenticeships and just talk to you a bit more about the programme. So you're going to hear from me and you're going to hear from Fitch Learning as well. So Rob and John, if you'd like to introduce yourself now, that would be great.
Yeah, we'll do, Jess. Yeah, thank you for that introduction, Helena, as well. So yeah, great to meet you all. For those of you who haven't met before, my name is Rob Thakur. I head up the Learning Solutions and Training Programs here at Fitch Learning. And as many of you will be aware, we specialize purely on financial services education. We've been delivering training for school leavers, interns, graduates for over 25 years now. And most importantly, for this session, we set up our apprenticeships team back in 2017 when the levy came in, and it was very much the whole essence behind it was to support employers, and that the overall strategic aim was to bring in a more diverse talent pool. That was the whole reason why we decided to support employers and learners, of course, in terms of apprenticeships training, with the aim of bringing in diverse talent into the industry. So having this partnership with the Diversity Project is fantastic. It's exactly why we wanted to support apprenticeships in the first place. And I'll hand over to John as well. John, over to you.
Great, thank you, Rob. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm John McDermott. I'm our Apprenticeships Client Relationships Director. So my role is purely focused on our clients when looking to implement and grow apprenticeships and utilise the levy. But good to see some familiar names and good to connect with those that I know as well. But yeah, thank you. Back to you, Jess.
Thank you so much. So you'll hear from Rob and John very soon. I'm just going to talk to you a bit more about why apprenticeships and why we're doing it now. So actually, this is a really good way to have an access to an exceptional talent pool. We're seeing more and more so that actually university is getting quite expensive, and those top talent are thinking, how can we get into those careers that we really want to, such as the financial services, such as front office, without having that cost of university? Well, a school leaver apprenticeship is a fantastic way to do that. And we can see that the demand for these places is growing, and we're continuing for that. We're expecting that trend to continue. So this is a fantastic time to be placed to actually be putting on an apprenticeship. The demand is there, and there are fantastic individuals who want to take on these apprentices. You may have seen quite recently in the news that the Prime Minister has spoken about 2/3 of young people going to university or technical qualification after leaving school. So actually, whilst university is still preferred, the emphasis is moving towards more apprenticeships. So putting in a target that doesn't just see schools and sixth forms and colleges pushing young people towards university, but actually there are some fantastic apprenticeships that young people can take on as well. So the demand is there from the young people, the demand is there for the parents, from policymakers, and actually we're seeing that having apprenticeships is very, very useful for firms in terms of thinking about how you can diversify the industry. So as we know that there are a number of underrepresented groups in the investment and savings industry, and what we want to do is use this apprenticeship as a tool to try and create a more diverse workforce. We're talking about this apprenticeship now, but actually the aim is that throughout the apprenticeship, the young people, the young talent get supported throughout their journey. And once they've completed that apprenticeship, they're continuing on in the industry and accessing all the fantastic programs that diversity projects already have. Helena mentioned a few of those while she was speaking. And so the other thing that was mentioned just now was the levy. Lots of firms are not utilising the levy, and the apprenticeship, our multi-firm apprenticeship, provides a way in which you can utilise that without having to think too much about it. You just heard a bit from Fitch Learning, you're going to hear more about them. The aim is to support our member firms in actually utilising the levy, so you can access this apprenticeship at no extra cost. You're already part of the DP as a member, but actually getting the support and guidance that you need to put on the apprenticeship. And so we're aiming for our apprenticeship to be a level 4 apprenticeship. So Fitch Learning will talk a bit more about the specifics of that, but we're aiming for a level 4 DP multi-firm apprenticeship program. And now the aim is that we're trying to create a pathway into the front office. So the idea is that these young peoples will be put in places, in roles that will enable them to have that access into the front office, which will enable their career to grow in the front office in the future. Now, one of the reasons why our apprenticeship program is unique is because we see it as a social mobility driver. I mentioned just now that we are thinking about our recruitment processes. We're thinking about the type of talent that we're going to get onto the program. And actually, we want to be working in partnerships with the Sutton Trust, with Amazing Apprenticeships, with organizations such as Gain, who already have a network, a cohort, a talent pool, who are those who may be females who are underrepresented in the industry, thinking about the different types of race that are underrepresented in the industry, thinking about the socioeconomic backgrounds. So these are the types of things that we want to target and think about when we're accessing the talent pool. Now, the start of the program will be in autumn, so around September 2026. And the reason being is because we've got all of this time to set the program up, make sure that the standards are correct. Now, we will be waiting until March 2026 to officially launch, because that's when the government guidelines will be finalised. But in the meantime, we're doing lots of work to ensure that we're partnering with the right organisations to get the launch going and to think about how we're going to shape this program and target it to the right individuals to come alongside the program. On this apprenticeship program, we're targeting the IMC qualification. Again, you'll hear a bit more about that, but our intention is that the apprentices won't just do the apprenticeship and do their learning, but we're going to support them and provide a package that enables them to actually think about their soft skills, think about their behavioral skills, think about their career, and understand how exactly it is that they're going to thrive in this apprenticeship. We'll talk a bit more about the recruitment as we go along and the programs. But what I'll do right now is I will hand over to Fitch Learning to talk a bit more about the specifics of the program. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Jess. Just before we do dive more into the structure of the program, I'm conscious I've met many of you before, and I'm aware that some of you are very well versed on apprenticeships. Some of you may well be first time thinking about apprenticeships. So can we just do a quick survey? Can we just have we can use the reactions button at the bottom, the emojis, or you can open up the chat, whichever your preferences or whatever you have access to as well. If you just let me know, if we start with those of who already are well versed on apprenticeships, have been delivering apprenticeships for a number of years, yeah, and feel pretty comfortable with how apprenticeships training programs are structured. If you wouldn't mind, a thumbs up or in the chat, whichever you prefer. Thanks, Melanie. Yes, we've had lots of conversations of apprenticeships over the years. Thank you, Tonia. Mandy, yes, thank you. Amy, wonderful. Okay, quite a few of you. I would recommend, do feel free to come off, mute and share your words of wisdom. You'll know what works and what doesn't as well. Oh, thank you, Nick. I've just seen your comment in the chat as well. Great. Okay, let's go to the other side. Let's just have a quick survey. If you could let me know if you haven't done apprenticeships before, one reason or another. So this is your first foray into considering an apprenticeship program for your young talent coming in. Peter, thank you. See if there's anyone else. Fiona, thank you. Carolina, marvelous. Okay, that's helpful for me. Christina, thank you. Okay, got it. That's helpful. So we've got a good spread there. Quite a few in the middle maybe have done some apprenticeships. So I won't take anything for granted. So I will go through the structure. We've been doing it for many years. There are lots of lessons learned, pitfalls to avoid, so we could give some good guidance and advice. What has worked. We'll also be very transparent on what doesn't work as well as we go through this. As Jess stressed here, this initiative is very much to bring young talent into the industry. There's been a real gap where there's been lots of focus on maybe graduates, but what about school leavers? What about thinking about alternatives to going to university? And then also the front office angle. It's often that you might have school leavers in more, say, operational roles, but the real ambition here is to get those into the more client-facing or front office roles, and it might be in the future. It might be a progression, career development for the future. You might have seen the white paper that was released recently from the government, that big drive for post-16 to again develop the skills. There looks like there's going to be more flexibility on how to use apprenticeships in the future, but there's no timeline. So we'll park that for the moment. Yeah, maybe there's more flexibility, but at the moment we'll run through what it is for 2026. It can be, let's say, it can be missed what the whole aim behind apprenticeships is. Often the professional qualification gets the focus, which is a misconception. Actually, what the apprenticeship is all about is titled there at the top. It's a personal and professional development plan, and that is how it should be viewed. It's a way of giving someone new into the industry a structured career development journey, giving them support. School leavers do need more pastoral care and support than maybe a graduate on there. That you need to be very mindful of. And having that structure helps them immensely. They'll have a skills coach, which is their own personal mentor in there, and they'll get lots more support and structure than maybe someone who's, I don't know, joining an organization with already some years of work experience. It's quite often these people it'll be their first time in an office. So some things that we might take for granted, we shouldn't with those going on to this, they're coming straight out of school, so that whole sort of corporate environment may be very well new to them. I should mention as well, as we dive more into this, please just come off mute if you've got any questions. Very happy to take questions at any point. Don't wait till the end, or in the chat. I'll keep an eye on the chat if you want to drop a question in there. I'll do my best to keep looking at that as well. But very happy to take questions as we go through it. If I go from left to right, line manager input support is crucial. There's three key elements. There's the training provider support to the learner. There's the employer support, from a learning and development function. And then there's the line manager support. It is a work-based program. Apprenticeship is work-based. It's structured as well. It can be quite rigid. The way the apprenticeship standards are structured is that every apprentice must meet all the learning outcomes that are outlined in the apprenticeship standard. That standard has been drafted by employers, by yourselves and your peers. So this apprenticeship that we're looking at has been designed by employers, written by employers, and approved by the government. And therefore, the learner needs to have that exposure to all the knowledge, skills, and behaviors that are outlined in the apprenticeship standard. There is also a learning commitment. You can see that there, often known as off-the-job learning hours. That isn't necessarily a course. That can be anything where they're learning new skills. So it could be a briefing session. It could be going on to a product briefing or a town hall, reading about some recent financial markets news. It could be getting involved in a new product that's being launched by your company. All of that, if it's learning new knowledge, skills, and behaviors, goes towards that. On average, stress average, 6 hours of learning. And it does need to be logged. It is a structured development plan. Think of it like a CPD log. So the learner logs that in, the learn manager oversight reviews it as well to ensure it's validated. The skills coach will guide them through it, but do think of it as being evidenced and tracked like on a CPD log, which is the MATAS hub as mentioned on the second box there. Then there is a professional qualification, within that, at the heart of the apprenticeship standard. We are looking at the IMC, the investment management certificate, because this is an investments-focused initiative to get those into more front office roles. So that will be the ideal qualification, and we'll support that. I'll intentionally not say much about the IMC unless you want me to, because often that gets all the sort of emphasis. But actually, it's everything else that's different in apprenticeship. The qualification training is similar. We do give more support for the apprentices, but ultimately it is online learning platform, classroom training, tutor support all the way through. So I'm going to say not much more about the IMC and focus more on the other elements that makes apprenticeships different. And then if you get to the right-hand side there, you then build up a portfolio of evidence throughout the program, demonstrating, showcasing these are the new skills that have been developed along the way. And then there's a final endpoint assessment. That's through an external assessment organization, a separate assessment organization that benchmarks and validates that it is at the right level to pass. So there is that industry recognition and recognition externally and industry-wide benchmarking as well to develop those skills. Okay, I'll pause there, just check if there's any questions at this stage, check in the chats, and just seeing if anyone wants to come off mute. No? Okay,
I have a question.
Oh, God, yeah, go for it, Melanie. Yeah, please do.
Just to double check, when you say school leavers, are we talking about 16-year-olds, 17, 18? Just want to double check what you mean.
It's a good point. The focus will be more the 18-year-olds is where we're focusing on. Jess, I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add on that in terms of the sort of the target group, but that's where we think it's those are thinking as an alternative to university. But Jess, I'll just hand to you.
No, it's exactly what you said. The idea is that the level 4 would be equivalent to doing a qualification that is similar to the first year of university. So the idea is that we want individuals who are ready to do that level of study. And so we're really targeting those who could have gone to university but are not. So like you said, the 18-plus-year-olds.
That makes sense. I think also if you did have someone who was 16, it might be even more challenging in terms of office etiquette teaches them,
Agreed.
all these different things and line manager
Exactly.
involvement. So I was just wondering.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
great,
agreed. Yeah, did have an employer the other day who was just saying that they had their apprentice, and the apprentice, when they joined, they put up their hand to see if they could go to the toilet. It's just what they used to at
Oh,
school. So you're right. So those things you just
yeah.
kind of take for granted. I know.
Oh,
They do really well as well. They're so enthusiastic of it and committed to it. But yeah, Melanie, thank you
yeah.
for clarifying that. Yeah, we're thinking like as an alternative to university, so at the A level stage.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there's no other questions, that we can move on to the next slide, if that's okay. Thank you. Okay, so in terms of the structure, key points to note on this, it is a 21-month program. Maybe can be done a little bit quicker, but typically it is that time duration, 21 months. So that is something to make sure you're fully aware of. It's not like a 6-month or 12-month internship. It's a 21-month employed role, and the intention should be to continue employing that learner. It's not that they're there for 21 months and then they leave. They are, they're an employee. Yeah, you're committed to developing them for a future role within your organization. We work very closely with the Diversity Project in terms of helping with finding the talent as well, as Jess mentioned. We'll talk more about that and reference how we can help identify the talent in the first place. Very crucial early on is the line manager briefing. There, you'll see on the left-hand side there, which should be done before the learners join, before the apprentices join. It's really important to have the line manager buy-in. You want those line manager champions. Often, of course, they're very busy people, so you need to think carefully about whether they're going to commit to the additional time and support that's needed for a school leaver versus maybe someone who's worked in employment before. The skills coach is crucial. Lots of regular contact points, typically every month with the learner, and then every quarter at least with the line manager to ensure that the learner supported, kept on track. If there's any gaps there or areas of development that's needed, working with the line manager to support how they can get that exposure to those learning outcomes. And then you'll see a structured learning phases to cover all the key elements that anyone would need to have a good grasp of and understanding for a role within financial markets as a whole. Do note this is all role-based, so they do need to think about how they can apply all this knowledge to their role in your organization. It's not an academic program. It's very much work-based and role-based learning. And then on the right-hand side, you get to what's called Gateway, where you're preparing and getting ready for the endpoint assessment. And then there's that final validation of the endpoint assessment with that external organization, which then validates and gives that industry-wide accreditation. Again, I'll just pause there in terms of structure and just see if there's any questions at all on that. All clear so far. Great. Okay,
Before we move on, man, I was
go on,
just
John.
going,
Yeah,
I was just going to extend your point around the relevance of it being role suitable. For those that are not maybe overly familiar as to why, because the key component of the apprenticeship is the portfolio that learners need to get access to in terms of proving that they're competent in a number of knowledge, skills, and behaviours. If you're looking at this and thinking, how do I go about framing what a job role might look like that's suitable? Following these sessions, we will share the occupational brief for the new standard that's due to launch, and it kind of outlines what the duties will be. And they're deliberately left kind of vague for you to then interpret them in your own ways to the roles that are suitable in your business. I just wanted to add that, and we can add some additional support with you on an individual basis if needed afterwards.
Yeah, it's a really good point to raise, John. Role suitability is key. It has to be a role that they will get the exposure to the learning outcomes. As John did say, that the learning outcomes and the guidance is intentionally generic, so it captures a lot of different types of roles. So we can give some guidance on what that role needs to have exposure to, and can always talk to yourselves individually if you're ever uncertain about would this role be suitable or not, we're happy to give that guidance. We do that on a regular basis. Yeah, thanks for raising that, John. Okay, very good. Melanie, hello.
No, so I got cut off, and then I've just rejoined. So you may have mentioned this.
That's okay.
So I'm also on my phone, so it's I can't really see your screen. It's quite small.
Uh-huh.
In terms of the qualification,
Yes.
I'm just curious because I know that we've had multiple conversations about this where a lot of learners want to get that qualification and tend to try and get that, and then might consider stopping the apprenticeship. How is this embedded within the level 4? I can't really see. Do they have to do that right at the end, or is it in the beginning?
Yeah, it's a really, yeah, I'm glad you raised it, Melanie. So the professional qualification has been a real double-edged sword with apprenticeships. Great that it's in there, you know, having a qualification that's recognized and is often one of the drivers for taking an apprenticeship. However, Melanie's highlighted a big, I say, concern, risk that can happen is that either the employer and or the learner are just doing it for the qualification and then they drop out. And that's a complete red flag to us, and alarm bells start ringing if that is the case. We'll be really transparent here. If you are considering just to fund a qualification, our advice would be don't do apprenticeships. It's not the way to do it. It's not intended for that. It's actually going to be more onerous, and the cost benefit analysis just doesn't weigh up. So if you want to pay for the qual, you're better commercially funding. Right, Melanie, I do need to answer your question. Where does the IMC train fit? We look to enload that for those kind of reasons. It's important that the learner understands the program is bedded into the organization, is settled in their role before they embark on having to study for a very challenging qualification. So timing can vary. We do want to make it flexible. So we have monthly courses for the IMC, and we'll talk more about that on the next slide. But our recommendation is it's done later in the program structure. Because there's so much else that the learner needs to get familiar with the new company, new job, new organization, lots of other elements to the apprenticeship. But yeah, timing is towards the end of that 18-month learning journey rather than the start.
Okay, no, that makes sense. It's just because we as in you and I, anyone that works within apprenticeships, we want everyone to finish and complete the apprenticeship. So
yeah,
I think that's a good idea to have it towards the end.
Yeah, we need that employer support as well, because there's often a push maybe from the line manager or the business say, oh, I want them to get them IMC done and dusted. But they've got to, as an organization, as an employer, you need to look at the apprenticeship in holistically. It's not just the qualification, it's the completing the full 21-month program.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you, Melanie. And yeah, keep the questions coming as well. It's useful to give those pointers, particularly if you've done apprenticeships before. Okay, nice segue into IMC. So if we could turn to the next slide. So yeah, that's a nice segue into discussing the IMC. As we've mentioned, the IMC is an important component. It's a great qualification to have. It's perfect for investments, but it does need to be looked within the context of the full 21-month journey. As I just recommended, we wouldn't recommend doing it from the get-go. You want to make sure that the learner is settled before they start studying for the IMC. So think of it more towards the middle, towards the end of the 18-month learning journey. There are 2 units as well, and it's best to spread those as well. So there's we provide an online learning portal, all the resources, tutor help desk that they can have at any time, access our tutor faculty throughout their studying. And then there are also revision courses for the 2 units. So investment environment, the bottom of unit 1 has a 2-day revision course, and then the investment practice, a 3-day revision course. But they only are effective if the learner has put the time in to watch the tutor recordings on the platform, read through the manual, practice the questions. Then the revision course is super successful in getting the final part of ensuring the learner gets through the qualification. So IMC there on that structure. as we said, it is a big learning commitment, so they do need to think about that within the context of the full apprenticeship. Antonia, hello.
Hi there. And in terms of the revision sessions, will it only ever be online? Because I think with some of our apprentices, they've really struggled with the content. They struggled with it all being online, and I think also just missed out on the opportunity of networking with other apprentices, within the industry. So
Yep.
that's my question.
That's great. Just about to come on to it as well. Yeah, we have both, Antonia. So we have in-person courses, and then we have virtual. And I should have mentioned as well, the whole intention behind this initiative, not just for the qualification, but for the program as a whole, is to be accessible wherever your offices are across the country. So we're mindful that not all your offices are going to be London-based. All your apprentices will be London-based, and we deliver training for apprentices based in Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, etc. So we've made the program accessible whether you can attend in person. So there'll be London in-person sessions. So we do London-based courses for the IMC, plus the networking events, which you mentioned, and Jess will talk more about the networking opportunities within the whole program with the diversity project. Also, though, if in-person in London is not viable, based in a different office across the country, you've got the virtual, as we're doing now, virtual instructor-led training as well. Okay, thanks for the question, Sonia. Okay, very good, great.
We've got a question in the chat, Rob.
Oh, have we? Oh, thank you. Let me just bring that up. Melanie. Yes, great, thank you. Is this program structured for closed cohorts? Right, okay, so we're going to have, the initiative here is we want to have a diversity project cohort. So the idea here is that we'll have a formal start date to help with that networking. There's a formal launch as well where they all, we'd like to have, that London in-person and then a virtual one as well. So yes, that's your question. We'd like to see have them as a cohort, and it's a diversity project cohort, all going through the same program, all learning from each other, lots of networking opportunities, which Jess will cover as well shortly. So yes, the idea is to have a structured cohort. With the IMC, we want to give flexibility because learners do go through it at different paces. So with the IMC, we run them every month. So there's flexibility of when to go on to the course. Only go into the course obviously when the learner feels ready for it. Some will be go through it and be ready quicker than others, and some might need more time. So for the IMC, there's flexibility of when the courses are and when to take the exam. But for the program as a whole, for Diversity Project, we'd like to view them as a cohort, learning from each other, networking, and getting those opportunities to network.
So was that across different companies as a closed cohort, or yes? Okay.
That's right,
So,
Mel. Yeah. This is a diversity project initiative, and the aim is, we're inviting all the employees on the call. We had one as well last week. Is that all of you are thinking about this for your new joiners, and that we have this initiative in terms of a cohort. Jess, I'll hand to you. Actually, it's probably a good time. Do you want to say more about that?
Yeah, no, of course. So the idea is that it's a multi-firm apprenticeship, and so we're calling our member firms to put a number of roles in each of their firms. So it might be 2 members from this firm, 2 candidates from that firm, 3 candidates from that firm, 1 from that firm. But the idea is that you may be the only apprentice in your firm, or one of 2, but you have a whole cohort who you're training together with and networking together with. So you're on this diversity project program together. So they will all start in autumn of 2026, September or October, whenever it is, and they will all end together, and they will do everything together in terms of, we've got this specific session at this time, we've got this thing at this time, and so they will end together given they finished that 21-month program. this is a pilot year as well. And so it might be that we start recruiting for another year, a year later or 2 years later. But it's just to keep in mind that this is a pilot year. And the idea is that they will sit together and go through this program together. And whilst a lot of the apprentices will be based in London, it is open to England. And so, as Rob was saying, that some of the sessions may be hybrid, some of the sessions will be in person. We'll talk a bit more about the networking pathway style sessions and the way we plan to bring the cohort together. But the idea is that we want them to be in contact with each other so they can see other apprentices on the program. They can hear what's happening with other people. So they're not doing this program alone. And that's one of the big things that distinguishes this program is the fact that it's a multi-firm program, but they're doing the same program, different roles, different firms, but same idea.
Perfect, thank you. And I know that it's just a pilot program and you're not 100% certain about the dates, but I wasn't really sure if you said it's going to start in March or September. Or
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Let me clarify that. So
Yeah.
the government standards are going to be confirmed in March. So that's when we'll launch and get recruitment and everything going. But the actual apprentices will start in September, October 2026.
Okay, great. So recruitment in March, actual start date in September. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Very good. Great.
Okay. Sorry, Rob. I was just going to say,
go for it, John.
Yeah, on Jess's point and your earlier point as well about locations, we had some questions on the previous session, and I've had them independently from some employers. Some of you might have offices in Scotland. Unfortunately, where this is a levy-funded program, it's only applicable to those that are based in England. So this is an apprenticeship standard, which is for UK, for England employees only, unfortunately. The funding for Wales and the funding for Guernsey and Scotland and other locations is unfortunately different to those in England. If you are keen to look at employees that are based there, please let us know, but it would be funded separately to then through the levy. On that as well, we're talking about exams. The IMC pass rates that we've got are incredibly high, but there will be a percentage of learners that will fail exams. The program does cover the entirety of the delivery and the first attempt at the exam. The retake of the exam is payable outside of the levy via yourselves as the employer. Everything else that we talk about and the stuff that we'll go on to talk about in a second in terms of the value add sessions, the wraparound support of what makes the DP Fitch Learning combination really attractive, is inclusive, but the retake of the exams is unfortunately not. But yeah, back to you, Rob. Just wanted to add that.
No, thanks, John. Yeah, you can blame the UK government on the it's only offices in England, and then Scotland's completely different, for example. But yeah, and on the exam, yeah, just be clear what's within the levy funding and not. As John said, we get super high pass rates, 80% plus on the IMC with apprentices, so we're very proud of that, much higher than the industry average. However, yeah, be mindful, you do need to keep supporting the learner. So retakes is to thinking about, you know, a commercial cost if there happen to be any retakes. Okay, wonderful. Right, we've done enough on IMC. I did say we weren't going to spend much time because it's the other elements that really makes an apprenticeship stand out. And we do need to, it's all about developing new skills. So we do provide a whole range of other workshops to really enhance the skills that they learn, and not just technical skills, but interpersonal behavioral skills as well are becoming more and more important to differentiate yourself in the world of AI. And of course, they've come straight out of school, so they may well need more help on the professional work-based skills as well. Those topics there, not mandatory at all. You could just, we work with the skills coach, work with the line manager and determine, well, which will help the learner. So if, I don't know, let's say Python is not actually required in their role, they're not in that area, then no need to do Python, but maybe Excel skills and modeling might be more relevant. So you can just choose the ones that are relevant for role in terms of the technical behavioral skills in conjunction with the line manager. Right now, we did mention about recruitment, and we Jess clarified in terms of timings. How can we help? And Jess, with the diversity project, will say a lot more on this. But from a Fitch perspective, we go to the next slide. We can also help to identify the talent as well. in terms of, oh great, thank you, in terms of a program that we set up a number of years ago to help people come into the industry. I will stress this is not levy funded, it is Fitch funded though, so it's completely no cost to the organizer, to you, no cost to the learner. It's purely funded. It's a fit, we feel passionate about this, and we funded this purely ourselves. And the aim of this, as you can see, it's a 10-week program. It's for those at school who really want to get into the industry, and we want to help them get into a position where they're successful when they get to an interview for an apprenticeship. What we found is that when these young people are going for an interview, they didn't feel prepared. They felt at a disadvantage compared to maybe, let's say, a university graduate or someone who's worked before. So the whole aim of this Career Accelerator program, a 10-week program, is to give them the skills so they're more successful when it comes to interview stage, and therefore can come, be successful and get onto initiatives like this one that we're talking today regarding the Diversity Project Initiative. So we've run this for a number of years now. It's just amazing when you meet the young people on this. They're still at school. They're doing this, kind of, outside of school time. Shows their commitment, enthusiasm, shows that they really want to have a role within the financial services industry, and we help them. We give them understanding of the markets, interpersonal skills, help them write their CV, help them be more successful at interview stage. And they also get, we partner with the CISI on this one to provide a qualification, a level 2 fundamentals of financial services, which will be a great help and stepping stone for their IMC if they're successful and get onto the diversity project program as well. So we're very happy to share more details on this. As we said, no cost to yourselves. For us, success is those who've gone through this to then get a job with yourselves, get into employment. We've already had a number of successes, and the feedback we've received is fantastic. So that's how we can help on that recruitment talent as well. In terms of just wrapping up and then hand it back to Jess, commitment needed. If we can just wrap up on the next slide there.
We've got a question on that, Rob, before
go on.
from Mandy, just around the Career Accelerator.
Oh yeah, thank you, Mandy. Can I ask how you promote the Career Accelerator program and which time period it takes place? Okay, yeah. The way we promote it, we partner with the CSI. So there's a number of connections Fitch has and the CSI has with schools. We go around, we work with employers as well, and we work with a number of charities that have a schools focus. So we go around promoting that. And then there's a number of different start dates during the year, and we have an in-person version and a virtual version. But Mandy, we're happy, we've been in touch already, haven't we? So we're happy to share more details on that if that's something.
Is that a nationwide program or is it London specific?
We do both, Mandy. So we've got a London specific in person, and then we've got a virtual, which is nationwide.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Mandy. Just to wrap up before I hand back to Jess. Commitment. Don't take apprenticeships lightly. If you haven't done it before, it does require commitment from, you can see all the stakeholders there on there. But once it's set up, and I'm sure those of you who've been there and done this already, it's so rewarding and it gets so much easier. Yeah, the first intake, there's a lot of things to think about, and then you roll it and you just get advocates as well from the first cohort who can then share their words of wisdom to the next cohort, and you get this sort of snowball momentum effect. And the learners, that you get are second to none. Their commitment, enthusiasm, their willingness to learn and to be successful, their drive is just fantastic. And we've got a load of testimonials and examples to show on that. Okay, thank you for that. I hope that was helpful. Jess, I'll hand back to you in terms of next
sure. Thank you so much. So just quickly before I go into next steps, I'll talk a bit more about the DP. We mentioned a bit in terms of what, I've said it quite a bit, but I wanted to just make it clear in terms of why it's unique in terms of the DP and what we do. So if you've already heard of our pathway style sessions, in addition to the sessions that Fitch offer, if candidates are on this program, they will take part in a DP pathway style networking session. So the idea is that the cohort of apprentices throughout the year will pinpoint these sessions at key points to support them in their journey, just to think about their behavioral skills, to think about how they're developing as an individual. And this is something that the diversity projects have a good success rate in doing if you look at how the pathway style sessions work. So this will allow the candidates, well, they're apprentices at this point, to have access to career individuals who are seasoned in their careers, who are doing really well in their careers, who can support them at this beginning point of their career. So these are the names of some suggested sessions, and they may change as the year goes on. But the idea is that we want to make sure that those apprentices are able to make an impression at your firms. They're able to make the most of their apprenticeship. And the way that we know how to do this best is through the networking style sessions that we hold in the pathway session. We want to do that for the apprentices as well. So we spoke a lot about the fact that we're going to make it in London, but also in other parts of England. So it's really important for firms to understand that if you have major offices in, for example, Leeds, like that is very possible. So whilst these sessions will take place in person in London, we also have the hybrid option, and there aren't as many of them spread out. They're not every week. So it is possible for the apprentices to, say, attend like once every few months in person, so they can actually see the rest of the cohort that they're with. And the other thing that I wanted to mention as well is Fitch Learning has spoken about their amazing program, and that's another way that we can access excellent talent. And I think that's really important for us to note. Something that's individualized about this program and the partnership with Fitch and Diversity Projects is the access to the talent. And so the Diversity Projects also has a program called the Catalyst Education Program. So that program is for those who are year 12 and year 13. And what they do is they go on either a 1 year or 2 year learning journey whilst they're completing their A-levels or college studies, and they actually learn a lot more about the financial industry. And so again, it's having access to that talent pool who are really committed to the industry, who want to know more about the industry, and actually they complete a level 2 CISI qualification if they complete that program. And so we have access to all of that talent who would be the perfect pipeline that we're thinking about when we think about this apprenticeship program. The idea is that we want to pinpoint those specific areas, those specific points in that young talent's career where they're thinking about their career, and actually support them through the process and making sure that they have the correct skills, interview skills, CV skills, and so on to succeed in actually getting a place on the apprenticeship and doing very well on the apprenticeship as well. So before we close, if anyone has any questions, we still have time for some questions. So please do keep them coming in the chat if you have any other questions. Will the talent from the DP program be students local to London? A lot of them are in London. Yeah, a lot of them are in London, but actually some of them are in different parts as well. We also have the skills workshop, which we target mainly at those at university, but we have access to young people who join that program too. And they're actually from all over the country. A lot of people join from all over the world. So even though a lot of the Catalyst Education Program students are from London, we do have a talent pool from outside of London as well. And in speaking to some of those who we're hoping to partner with, they are able to actually target individuals in certain locations in the country. So if, for example, your office is in this very specific part and you want to target individuals around that, we have access to doing that with the partners that we're working with on the recruitment front as well. Yes. So you will actually get a link to the recording, can share some detailed slides with you as well. And the other thing that I will share with you, which was us coming on to, is, of course, we have a timeline and we're thinking about what are the next steps. And so we would love firms to fill in a short registration form and just let us know if they're interested in the program and how their current situation is. If you're thinking about the roles, if you're not yet ready for roles, but you definitely know that you want to do something with the apprenticeship program. So we're asking for just a soft commitment by mid-December. So you will get that registration link, you'll get the link to this recording, you'll get some slides, and you will get some of the things that Fitch Learning mentioned as well to support you when you're thinking about your apprenticeship program. And so, yeah, definitely you'll get all those things.
Yes, I'm just conscious that Antonia's been waiting very patiently with virtual hands up.
Thank you, Antonia.
And I think this sounds amazing. I'm a big fan of apprentices, as is the company I work for. My only issue or question is, do you think you'll still get great candidates applying in March? like opening it out in March. I think we've tend to find that the earlier you apply, so kind of starting in January, Feb, for obviously start date September, you tend to get people who, you know, it really is what they want, and they apply early rather than potentially getting people that are just looking for an apprenticeship rather than one focused in finance. And like that's just one of the things that we are really looking to avoid, being in that situation.
Yeah, it's something that we've thought about and spoken to people like Amazing Apprenticeships who have a lot of experience with schools. And they mentioned that, yeah, you do get a lot of candidates applying in January, but you also have different points in the year where candidates are applying. So even though like you get some of them thinking about it in January, there are also some of them who think about it as soon as their exams are done, and apprenticeships are rolling. So different firms and different industries are constantly applying at different points. But yeah, no, that is something that we have thought about. And that's also why I mentioned in terms of, even though the government standards are coming out in March, we are going to be doing some work around launching the idea of it beforehand. So making sure that we're getting in front of those young people, if it's webinars and events in schools, so they actually know about the apprenticeship before they can then apply when it opens in March.
Yeah. Oh, go on.
Sorry, just jumping in here. So John and us were talking about perhaps going in earlier, so in January, with some sort of generic adverts. So we're not going to have the specific roles at specific firms, but we're considering whether we could go out with just a general kind of applied centralized. But in order to allow us to do that, we need to know how many of our firms are offering roles and in which locations. And so that's where it's very important for us to get those numbers from our member firms, whether it's going to be one or two or whether they're London based or not. And we will be sending that registration links shortly. And we're thinking whether you would get back to us by the end of November, kind of registering your interest so that we can go out with a generic advert, perhaps even in the government apprenticeship website, and start contacting them. And then we have to wait to the guidelines to be stamped so that in March we can just we can keep running, but we didn't want to wait until March for all of the reasons you've said. John, did that make sense? Did I explain it? Because you explained it to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I think Beth's point in the chat just now as well is the amount of candidates that are now looking at apprenticeships as their preferred route as an alternative to university. I would say it's at its peak. Apprenticeships are getting more and more recognition all of the time for various reasons. There's a lot of high caliber candidates who are choosing economics, maths, the sciences at A level and opting to do an apprenticeship as their preferred choice. So Beth's point is very relevant because there aren't as many opportunities out there to give them to all of the great candidates. So I think if we start in January, great. If you started in March, we have lots of campaigns. Some of them start in June for October starts, which is incredibly tight turnaround time. But the caliber of candidates is still fantastic, even that late in the day. So I think we're well ahead of the game in that sense.
Great. Mandy.
Mandy's got her hand up. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, just a few points on this. Around advertising in January, surely an apprentice role needs to be scoped to the standard properly before it can be advertised. We do register, so we hire about 70 apprentices a year. So we do register your interest campaigns, but that's with the confidence that all of our roles have been properly scoped against standard previously. So how are you going to manage that? And also, this apprenticeship standard exists already, doesn't it?
It does, Mandy. Yeah, you're right. So it's a stand. Sorry, go on. Go on, keep going.
So
yeah.
Why do we need to wait until March then to advertise it? Because it's only all apprenticeship standards are under review at the moment, aren't they? So
pretty much.
I'm assuming that even if the government don't sign off on the proposed changes by March, that you would still go ahead with this initiative based on the existing standard.
Right. Okay. So you're right. There's an existing standard. And I don't know if anyone's on the Trailblazer, we are on there. The new standard is changing. So the risk if you do it on the existing standard is that the knowledge, skills and behaviors, the learning outcomes which are changing don't align. if you base it on the current standard. But you are right, Mandy, we don't necessarily need to wait. We already got a good template of what the standard looks like. We've got a draft version. John, I know you're going to share from that new standard what the overall activities are.
Yeah.
So there is enough. I think it's more about the other points that were mentioned about why wait until March. I get your point, Mandy. I mean, the sooner the better.
Yeah,
really.
because we notice we open in September for our apprenticeships.
Yeah.
And I was previously at EY, and we noticed a huge difference in quality and diversity in our pipelines the later we opened. And then, sorry, just my last point is around the narrative around universities. So if we're looking, so how to phrase this, A-level students that are ordinarily destined for university may not offer us the most diverse pool of candidates. If we're looking at this from a diversity project lens, I don't know, I just wanted to kind of put that out there as well, that we hire lots of apprentices that have never thought of going to university, and I kind of just interested around that kind of thought from the attraction perspective, really, if that makes sense.
Yeah, can I just check, is it a question on will we be able to get a diverse group?
I suppose it's more an observation that we don't necessarily chase those students that are thinking, is it an alternative to university, but it's a more structured way as a direct entry level role into the workforce. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. John,
because a lot of A-level students aren't necessarily thinking about going to university, whilst our education system is built that way, and big advocates of that. There are a lot of the apprentices that we hire that just aren't really even considering going to university.
Oh, and sorry, we should clarify, it's not, that was just one avenue.
Okay.
We're looking for all school leavers, for whatever reason. Maybe they're looking at it as an alternative to university. Maybe they didn't even think about university, and they just want to start earning while they're learning. On there. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Thanks, man. Thanks, Mandy. John, I don't know if you want to add anything on that, on Mandy's really good points about timing and the revised standard, and anything else I missed that would be good to share.
Yeah, I think it might be good for us just to regroup and have a rethink, because I think Mandy's made some really good points around starting as early as possible. I think we just need to rethink the timeline, because like it's been mentioned, we've got the occupational brief, we know what the duties are. If we have a really good understanding around the demand from the member firms, as Adriana's mentioned, if we've got a really good indication of where the numbers are going to take us, and hopefully we'll get to that target number, we're able to start moving a bit quicker operationally. So if that is the case, I think we just need to digest and just make sure we are able to move a bit quicker. But in terms of the point you made around the candidates, I think you make a really good point. Most of the apprentices that firms are hiring candidates who are choosing not to go to university but are absolutely capable of going to university, but they're choosing apprenticeships as that first option. So it kind of echoes your earlier point about when candidates start to do that, and maybe they do start to do that earlier. So there is a window. We just need to maybe pick what that window is that we're able to kind of move into.
Yeah. I know we're there on time. Is it okay if we keep going? Because I know Nicola and Helen got questions. Is that okay? And obviously, if you need to go for another meeting, hope that was useful. But Nicola, I don't know if you wanted to still have a question.
A couple of questions that I think might have got lost on the chat. Firstly, how many people do you have each year on the Career Accelerator programme? So your pool for access to talent, how many people take part in that each year?
Yeah, John, do you know roughly?
Yeah. So we've got 3 confirmed intakes on a yearly basis. We've got January, April, and then one later in October. The one that we've got running at the moment has got over 30 candidates starting, and the candidates that are on there now are looking to start their apprenticeship or start an apprenticeship next year, October. So by rule of thumb, generally around between 80 and 100 roughly.
Yeah. Okay. And just to stress, Nicola, that's only one avenue of where we can identify talent. There's lots of multiple channels.
And what I was going to ask, my second question is your course only open to diverse candidates? So if we had a existing role and we wanted to put someone onto an apprenticeship program, is that open, or do you have a qualifying level of diversity?
Yeah, Jess, can I hand to you in terms
Yeah.
of it is
No,
your initiative? Yeah,
yeah.
diversity
So
project. Yeah.
the idea is that we are trying to diversify the industry, but that looks different in different people. So it doesn't necessarily mean that someone who is not considered diverse is not going to get on the program. But the idea is that we're trying to pioneer those roles for those who are underrepresented in the industry. So that's something that we could pick up and talk about individually if you already have someone who you're thinking about putting on the program. But the idea is that we're pioneering it, not that we're just saying that you must be from this XYZ diverse background.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Nicola. Helen? Hello.
Sorry, just coming onto video. Hello, thanks. This all sounds wonderful. Unfortunately, we are mainly Scotland based, so we won't be able to take part this time around. I'm hoping that you'll work together to bring something for your Scottish members that will meet the requirements in Scotland, because obviously the levy is actually a lot more difficult for us to access in Scotland, as you'll be aware. But you mentioned that anyone outside of England can, if interested, speak to you about doing an apprenticeship out with the levy. And I just wondered, what would that look like? We're already working with you, it's Aegon Asset Management, for doing a training program for our graduate intake in the Netherlands just now. So how different if we were to, for example, do an apprenticeship in Scotland? I'm not so sure we would do it this way, because we do use Investment 2020 and others, and obviously not doing the diversity project way, it would lose the benefit of the cohort and the networking and everything. But if we were to think about it, how different would the training look for the apprenticeship than we're doing for the graduate scheme?
Yeah, Helen, can I just check? Did you say, maybe there's a misunderstanding, so this is only eligible because of the government rules for those working in England?
Right.
Yeah, so
yeah, and you mentioned if anyone in Scotland, I think you said, wants to do anything like this out with the levy, because we obviously can't use the levy.
Oh, without the levy. John, did you say that?
Yeah, that was me. I'll just come in on that question, Helen. Thank you for raising. So we work with a lot of employers in a similar position to yourselves, who have the majority or a percentage of their staff in England and some based in Scotland, and some are very keen to ensure consistency across employers across both sites. In terms of the levy, it can only be utilised in England. It would be a separate conversation around what commercial agreement we could come to make it a consistent approach. That was more my line of thinking, Helen. So it might be something we could talk about offline, just to sort of see if that makes sense.
Okay, and if I could just add, Helen, yeah, your point about elsewhere, you know, we work with Nella on your early careers program for Aegon, and yeah, we do this globally. We do early careers programs all around the world. They're all different. Yeah, we work with the employer to go, what do you want to do? What are the key skills that you want for your learners? And you know, which areas are they going to work in within your organization? So that's the great thing. Outside of apprenticeships, you can do whatever you like, that, you know, that is what you want, and tailor it. The downside is there's no government funding. So that's the trade-off, I suppose. But yeah, within apprenticeships, it is a little frustrating for us as well, that you're constrained on what you can and cannot do, but at least there's some government funding to support it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Helen. Melanie, hello again.
Hello again. I just have one quick question.
Yeah,
I added it in the chat, but just in case. So is this the same apprenticeship as the level 4 investment operations specialist? Is it the same?
Correct.
It is.
Yeah, it's the same standard.
It is.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's being revised, as we mentioned. Yeah, it'll be a new standard next year, but it's ultimately, you know, the same structure as the previous one, as the current one.
Okay, perfect. It's just that will help us figure out job titles and stuff like that. So, okay.
Yeah, actually, there was a question in the chat I wanted to raise on that. So thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, when you're thinking about the appropriate roles. Job titles is one thing. It's actually what they will actually do in their jobs. You can have two people in the same job title but doing very different roles can happen. So we'll work with you. As John said, he can share what the sort of the activities and tasks that you would typically need to have exposure to be eligible. So yeah, job title is something. JD's one thing, but actually what are they actually doing in their role is the key to determining who's eligible.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Jess, I know we're overrunning, but hopefully that's a good sign that people, everyone's finding it helpful. Can I hand back to you? Is that okay?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And like, if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. We're happy to answer them, happy to speak with you, happy to work with you if you have individual queries. But we really appreciate your time and your comments and your questions. It's all supporting us in making sure that we make this apprenticeship successful. So you will be hearing from us very soon. We'll share the recording with you. We'll share the registration link and some of those things that John and Rob mentioned regarding the standards and what the apprentices actually need to be doing with you. So we'll hope to hear from you very, very soon. And once again, thank you so much, John and Rob, for joining and just being on the call with us. And we will see you all very soon, or you'll hear from us very soon at least. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.